NASCAR returned to Chicagoland Speedway this past July 4th weekend, and I do not think it disappointed at all. Chase Briscoe finally gets that first win of the 2026 NASCAR Cup Series season over his teammate Christopher Bell, who's also looking for his first win of this season. Two drivers I expected to already have multiple wins at this point, based off how good they were last year. But finally, Chase Briscoe does it in that patriotic number 19 Bass Pro Shops July 4th, baby. Doesn't get more American than that. Welcome back to Mayan Motorsports. I am Jake, and let's go over the Chicago race weekend. After a rough start for both Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell this season, these two guys ended up being the two drivers competing for this win. Denny Hamlin has a handful of wins at Joe Gibbs Racing this year. Ty Gibbs also has a win at Bristol. Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell, though, really shocked they have not won a race up until this point. They both have had pretty rough seasons for their standard. Just everything that could have went wrong for them in the early portion of this year has gone wrong. Wrecks, mechanical failures, all that jim jam. But finally, we saw a battle between two teammates. Bell was coming pretty fast, a couple lap fresher tires, but Chase Briscoe was able to block very nicely. You know how the aero blocking works with this car, and ended up getting that first win of the year. You could run the top. You could run the bottom. You could run the middle. Tire wear was more excessive than a track like Kansas, the older Chicagoland surface. We need more tracks with an older surface because I think the tire wear is what causes the racing to be better. Finally, Chase Briscoe gets win number 1 on the season, his 6th career win, and he's now all the way up to 8th in points. Just a handful of weeks ago, I think after the Coke 600, he was below the Chase cutoff line. Consistent top 5s and top 10s, a bunch of stage points the last handful of weeks. Now a big win propelled him all the way up to 8th. Let's just go over some of these top finishers real quick and talk about their days. Christopher Bell, 4th second place finish this season. A great day despite that wrist. It's back-to-back very good weeks for Christopher Bell. Remember, he's still healing. He hurt his wrist at Michigan, and he drove a phenomenal race. He actually got damaged earlier in the race on pit road after contact with another car, was set back in the field, drove his way back up there, played the strategy game right, and on those fresher tires in that last run, he was hauling ass, dude. Unfortunately, once he got caught in Chase Briscoe's wake, he was not able to get by him. He had an opportunity on the bottom, but the 16 of AJ Allmendinger was right there. He had no chance at the slide job. If the 16 wasn't there, I guarantee the 20 would have made the move on the bottom, but he had no choice. Had to stay on the top side where Chase Briscoe was running. Had to settle for second. Denny Hamlin stays hot. 3rd place for Denny Hamlin. And actually now gained a bunch of spots over Tyler Reddick for this points lead, because Tyler Reddick, another bad race, we'll get to him in a minute. William Byron, man. He was the best car all night. 94 laps led. The first time we've seen William Byron really go out there and dominate a race this season. William Byron's been so good the last couple of years. Him and Kyle Larson were like the two best guys at Hendrick for a couple of years. But this season, William Byron's had it pretty rough. Been like 10th to 15th in points all year. Not quite the speed, but I think Chevrolet's starting to figure it out. And he was leading that entire last run. Chase Briscoe passed him after the green flag pit stop cycle. But it seemed like William Byron still had a chance, but then he just started fading late in that run. Bell gets by him. Denny Hamlin gets by him. A lot of Toyotas in this top 10. This is the first time actually in NASCAR Cup history we've had 7 Toyotas in the top 10. But still, a 4th place for Byron is still good points considering where he is in the point standings. And Alex Bowman, man, he still got it. I'm worried for Alex Bowman because his future's uncertain. Some people speculate he might just hang up the helmet after this year. Some people might speculate that he's not going to return with Hendrick. But a run like last night, top 5, was up front in the top 10 all day. I had actually Austin Cindric in the in-season tournament beating Alex Bowman. But Bowman had a great night. 5th place for Alex Bowman. Bubba Wallace led 35 laps in this race. He's good at these mile-and-a-halfs like Kansas, a bigger track like Michigan. The 2311 cars are always pretty good. All Toyotas are just great this year. 6th place, led some laps. Ryan Blaney, another top 10. This is his 7th top 10 in a row. The longest streak of Ryan Blaney's career. A 7th top 10 in a row. Consistency, man. One thing with Blaney in previous years is that he gets a lot of DNFs. Not always his fault. But this season, he's really cleaned that up, and now he's just consistently cracking down on good finishes every single week. And then 3 more Toyotas round out your top 10. Ty Gibbs fast again. The 4th Joe Gibbs car in this race finished 8th. All 4 Joe Gibbs racing cars in the top 10. Toyota's just so gross this year. They're so good. Corey Heim, a legit top 10. Remember he won San Diego in his 13th start just a couple weeks ago? 14th start, top 10 at Chicagoland. A pretty tough racetrack. A track he's never touched before. He's never touched Chicagoland. 9th place for Corey Heim. And then Riley Herbst, I'm telling you, regardless if Toyota has the advantage this year or not, it's like night and day compared to how Riley Herbst ran last year. I think Riley Herbst, to my knowledge, got a singular top 15 finish last year. This year, he already has at least like 4 or 5 top 10s. While he's not returning to that 35 car next year for Corey Heim, I hope he ends up somewhere because really he has drastically improved. I will give him the credit he deserves. Good for Riley Herbst. I want to go over some other notables in this race. Kyle Larson, man. I'm a big Kyle Larson guy. You guys know that. Why does he's so talented, but the fact we're this far into his career and he still makes these just like rookie mistakes, like comfortably in 3rd, no pressure from behind, early on a restart on fresh tires, hits the bump in turn 3 and 4, spins, and then he gets stuck in the grass, loses a couple laps, and the underside of his car is destroyed because he has to drive all the way around the racetrack with no tires that are filled with air. 2 laps down, finishes like 30-something. Where did he finish? 30 what? 34th. At least he got some stage points in stage 1, but come on, Larson. Like, why do you got to make these mistakes, bro? Greatest driver in the world. Here come the comments, but god dang it, bro. He was fast. I had Kyle Larson winning this race. Chicagoland is a good racetrack for Kyle Larson. The top lane, you can use that to your advantage. You're good at that. Yeah, didn't quite happen. Tyler Reddick, I mentioned before, man. A rough handful of weeks. He lost that points lead round 1 exit in the in-season challenge due to his issues last week. This is back-to-back weeks, though, with mechanical failures for this 45 car. This week, I believe he had some kind of oil leak. His car was like covered in like brown stuff. I think it was oil. Something went through the radiator of his car, went a handful of laps down, 36th place. He had pretty good speed in this race. I think him and Denny Hamlin in stage 1 had a pretty good fight to like get those stage points. Like, it's going to be still a great battle, but man, the fact that you were 100 and something points ahead of your nearest competitor in just a month and a half, maybe, you lost the lead. Yeah, you're in 2nd still, but the bad luck hopefully is out of the way for that 45 team because it's been a rough last handful of weeks. Connor Zilic with another dead last finish, another lap 1 crash. A little stack up in front, Ricky Stenhouse hits the wall, Ryan Preece trying to avoid, Connor Zilic trying to avoid Ryan Preece, spins himself into the inside wall. I mean, this has got to be like his 5th or 6th last place finish this year. He finally got his first top 10 last week at Sonoma. Another race, he doesn't even complete a singular lap. Horrible rookie season. And it doesn't help that in the O'Reilly series, he was one of the fastest cars and he spun out like once or twice and barely got a top 10. Like, just a year to forget for the young rookie. However, there's still half the season left about. Maybe the fortune will finally go in his favor. I want to talk about Austin Hill as well. Early in the race, Shane Van Gisbergen kind of sent him into the wall. And then Austin Hill retaliated under caution. This is not the first time these two guys have gotten together. Remember, back at Pocono, Austin Hill kind of ran SVG in the wall, causing that stage 2 crash. And just a week or two later at the San Diego Naval Base, Austin Hill made that massive mistake that took out both Connor Zilic and SVG, a race that SVG could have probably won. But SVG's like, yeah, I'm sick of that, bro. Just sent him around hard into the wall. Then under caution, I believe he hit SVG. I wonder if anyone will get penalties for intentionally wrecking each other. I don't think so, but we'll see. But yeah, the racing was overall pretty dang good. You could pass the leader. Like, usually the leader's hard to pass with this car with the dirty air, but the tire wear that we saw, a few laps fresher tires made a huge difference. Denny Hamlin on like 5-lap fresher tires on that last run was hauling ass, dude. If he didn't hit the wall late in that stage, he would have probably had a chance to catch the 20 and the 19. The 20 was closing on the 19 really fast. Definitely, I would say the best mile-and-a-half race this season. Maybe not as good as Charlotte. I thought Charlotte was great despite it being ended because of the rain early, but overall, I had a lot of fun. It was just cool seeing Chicagoland back on the NASCAR schedule. It was really, really cool. And like, I know they're talking about potentially returning to the Chicago street course next year. At the very least, if you decide to do that, can you make it like a rotating deal? Like 1 year you're at the Chicago street course, the next year you're at the oval, please. It's just fun. It's just nostalgic, but it's also a good track. It's a solid mile and a half with tire wear. What else can you ask for? The drivers were happy. Most fans and like other NASCAR content creators, from what I've seen, have been pretty happy with this race. I know there was an issue with the parking because, first of all, first race in 7 years, you're not going to nail every aspect of it. At the same time, though, the heavy rains that happened all weekend caused a lot of the parking lot, which is grass, to be like non-usable. And some fans got to the track late, to my knowledge. It was basically Kentucky 2011 all over again. That is unacceptable. But it's sold out, so a handful of the last race weekends have been sold out in the Cup Series side of things. I want to also point out the O'Reilly Series. So obviously that was July 4th. I had myself a day on July 4th, but I threw a bit of money down. I asked my buddy, I said, yo, here's like the race lines. You pick a driver you want to pick to win this race. And he said, okay, Brandon Jones, I guess. He picked Brandon Jones, and I was like, okay, whatever, fine. Like, it's not going to happen realistically. What do you know?
He goes to the bottom. Final time, turns 3 and 4. Outside Brandon Jones. Inside Chase Elliott. A couple of Georgia drivers going after it. It's Brandon Jones, checkered flag at Chicagoland.
Brandon Jones won the O'Reilly race over Cup champion Chase Elliott in an overtime restart. I was like losing my mind. It must have been like 2 a.m. at that point because I was like, went to the bar and stuff. Wow. I won like $95. What a generational pick by my buddy. Oh my God. That was just so funny. That was so great. But yeah, that's basically the gist of Chicagoland. The second round of the in-season tournament is complete. My mom's doing vacuuming downstairs, hence why you hear that. And here's where we're at. Alex Bowman, the 32nd and final seed, is up against Todd Gilliland. 2 upsets, I would say, as Todd Gilliland beat Carson Hocevar. Chase Elliott versus Chase Briscoe. Chase Briscoe obviously won the race. Chase Elliott finished 11th. McDowell finished further back in the field. Denny Hamlin versus Christopher Bell is going to be a great matchup too. Joe Gibbs' teammates who had great races yesterday. And then Byron and Blaney. I just realized, unfortunately, my bracket is over because Chris Buescher lost. That sucks. But yeah, my picks out. I picked Chris Buescher. Ew. But this is actually pretty well-rounded. Like, look at these guys. Hamlin and Bell, championship contenders. Byron and Blaney, 2 of the best drivers. Elliott and Briscoe, 2 of the best drivers. And then you have the upset side right here with Bowman and Todd Gilliland. That's going to be fun because one of them's going to the Final Four, that for a fact. If it's Todd Gilliland, that'd be pretty funny. But yeah, that's the gist of NASCAR at Chicagoland. Next week, another Sunday night race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Arguably the best track in NASCAR, at least in the Cup Series side of things. Just the way that track has aged over the very few years. It's been the new reconfiguration, plus it being a drafting track that actually provides good racing. So I'm very excited. Round 3 of the in-season challenge. I think it's going to work better. Like, remember last year, the in-season challenge, the first race was at Atlanta, and everyone's bracket was destroyed. This season, being round 3 with only 8 drivers still in it, I think it's a much better idea. So yeah, some people's brackets are already busted, so at this point, not everyone's bracket will be destroyed in just a singular race. But yeah, that is the gist of Chicagoland. 8 out of 10 race. I liked it. Wasn't perfect, but I still had a lot of fun watching it. It felt good to be back at Chicagoland. But yeah, that is the gist of Chicagoland. I hope you guys enjoyed the race. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Stay tuned for more Atlanta Motor Speedway, Echo Park Motor Speedway coming up. I'm Jake. I hope you guys have a great week. May Motorsports. Peace out.